So there's a lot of young people watching us and writing questions to us about, success and what does it mean to be successful? What is it like? What's the lifestyle? And I'm thinking to myself that a lot of them, or a lot of you guys, are probably watching, professional sports, you're watching movies, you're watching TV, and you're seeing a bunch of these successful people, you're seeing the style that they live, and it all seems incredibly attractive to you, and it seems to you that defines success. And so I wanted to talk about something very, very important today. Two things. First of all, and I'm just going to throw it out there, just so you know, a lot of the things that you see are not necessarily real. A lot of it is just something that these people rent, use, borrow, to look cool, to shoot a show, to shoot a movie. So don't always necessarily assume that because you see somebody driving something, or living somewhere or doing something, that necessarily it's exactly how they live. On the other hand, a lot of people really do live like that, but this is really the important part of what I want to talk about. I really, really recommend that you watch one TED Talk by Robert Greene, and I think we're going to put the link below so you have access to it as well. Robert Greene, who's one of my favorite authors, once talked about his life, and actually was his first TED Talk, and he said that he hasn't told a story ever before. He talked about his life before his famous book, 48 Laws of Power. And what he said was that most of the people that have read the book, saw the success of the book, immediately assumed that this was something that he made and something that very quickly brought him fame, something that was very easy for him to do, and basically they associated all of the success of the book and basically all of his success, all the success that they saw was the book, was that product that he came up with. And he talks about the idea that while you may see this material thing, this book that ended up selling millions, that is just the illusion of success. And what success really meant for him was 20 years in the making. He was talking about, being a writer that was failing very often. He talked about, his boss calling him for lunch one day and he was very excited, thought he was getting a promotion. The boss ending up telling him that, I think you should do something else for a living. You're no good as a writer and you will never do well. So then, he went on a trip to Europe. He started working different jobs. He was working in hotels, in restaurants. He was working, writing screenplays. He was working in some, spy agency. He basically had well over 50 different jobs, doing different things, not worrying too much about whether this is my calling. Is this really the job that's going to get me somewhere? He was just going with the flow, trying all these new experiences, learning something on the job every time that he got a new job. So one day he was, I believe, in Italy, and he met somebody who asked him, do you have any ideas for a book? And so immediately he thought about the things that he was reading. He thought about all the jobs that he had, all the things that he learned through those jobs. He immediately came up with the idea of writing about different figures in history, different people in history, all struggling or trying to achieve power. And so when that question was asked of him, he answered very quickly about the idea that he had. The person that asked the question thought it was a wonderful idea, gave him 50% for the book to write it before they could pitch it to a major publisher. Well, and then the rest is history. The book became very, very successful. But the whole point of the story, why I told you this, and why what I got from his speech was that when he was asked what he wanted to write about, all of this baggage, all of those, 50 jobs, moving from different continents, bringing coffee to somebody, being a failed writer, all of this together allowed him to prepare himself for the right moment when somebody gave him an opportunity. So none of it was time wasted. All of it was time that he used to gain something, which when the right time came, he was able to put together very nicely, very quickly, and come up with an answer that in the end ended up being his life's work. Now, this is something very, very important for you to understand. A lot of people feel like they're stuck in a job that isn't giving them anything. They're doing something that they don't really want to do. You know, same with people. It doesn't only have to do with your job. You're sometimes wondering, you know, why am I around these people? Why do I need to go there? Why do I need to meet him? Why do I need to, you know, work 12 hours in a restaurant? It's not going to get me anywhere. The point is, you never know where all of these experiences, once you combine them after a certain time, will lead you. Don't chase that overnight success. That overnight success rarely exists. Most of the people that you see, whether they're athletes, actors, musicians, whatever, wherever, top businessmen, wherever they're performing, there's always a story which sometimes is a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, you never know. Each person has their own story. And each one of these people used their story, combined all those years of experience into becoming the person that a lot of you are sometimes seeing on a screen of your TV or on a cover of the magazine. I would like you to treat your own story like they treated theirs. Value everything that you're doing today. Value every job that you have. Value every contact that you make, because you never know when you will have the opportunity to put it all together and turn it into something that will become your life's work. I owned a small restaurant about 6-7 years ago. Nothing major, but a very interesting gentleman came to the restaurant and wanted to celebrate his 50th birthday, I think it was. Great 2-day party. I met the person, we exchanged contacts. 4 or 5 years later, I ended up working together with him in a hedge fund. And what brought us together was that, you know, very simple birthday party that he had in a restaurant that I was working with. That's number one. You know, number two, another great story. I was selling my house once, and I ended up meeting a person who just walked by the house, saw it, ended up buying the place from me, but we stayed in touch. You know, and that's another small, great lesson. Once you meet great people, regardless whether it's just for a one-time transaction, maybe you meet them on a trip, maybe you know they buy something for you, whatever. Try to keep in touch. Keep in touch with people who are interesting. Keep in touch with people who are smart. Because I sold a house, I kept in touch with him, and today, again, he's one of the biggest investors in one of the projects I'm involved with. And you know, we didn't know each other before. We just had that little interaction. We kept in touch, and he ended up investing. So you never know why you meet the people you meet. You never know why you do the jobs that you do. Treat every one of those things with respect. Treat them as a piece of a puzzle that you can later, you know, put together. And don't rush. Don't feel like if you're not doing your dream job at, you know, at 25, 30, 35, 40, that it's too late. It's never too late. Maybe it's exactly the lesson that you need to learn before you get that opportunity to really be doing what you should be doing. I just thought it's really worth mentioning to you because I see a lot of people are really, you know, rushing to make a quick buck. So think about it. Definitely watch the TED Talk from Robert Greene. I really recommend it. And thanks for watching.